I get it. I get it. We're seeing a lot of players sign for other clubs, and again, there's a long way to go in the market. But you can't help when you just put your fan cap on without knowing the isms and schisms and the intertwinings of what goes on with transfers. And actually, for all I know, at the time of making this video, Arsenal could be finalizing deals. But when you're seeing Cherky, Verts, well, better yet, Man United, Liverpool, this one, that one, everyone making signings, you can't help but think what's going on. Now, of course, you can caveat that with other teams have got more to do. We've got a lot to do. The club oldest football club, you hear what I said? The club oldest football club, specifically us fans, and I'd say the players, and actually, you know, everybody else in between, to get this window spot on, really and truly. It needs to be what it should have been in the summer of 2024 and more, with a little bit of tax of what you lot put us through in January. Now, I must admit, I like Gyökeres as a player. I like Sesko. We speak about them every day. I'm getting quite bored of it. But as you can see, allegedly, according to the record, which I believe is a publication over in Portugal, Viktor Gyökeres has already defined the future. The Swedish striker has decided to return to England. So where do you think he's going? Do you think he's going to Chelsea, have been linked? Do you think he, left field choice? Could he be going Newcastle, Man United with Cunha, with obviously Mbuemo rolling, potentially going to sell Haaland or Højlund, apologies, or Højlund's going to depart? Does he go there, or does he go to Arsenal, man? Because we do hear a lot of stuff. We got a lot to discuss, people. So smash the like button, get comfortable. But yeah, it could be anything. It could be anything, or it could be a left field choice. I'm not saying he would, but Aston Villa, they're in Europe. They've got a good bunch. They've got good players. I know PSR and etc., but they're building something. We just don't know, people. But yeah, progressing this. Darmashev said there is more certainty in Arsenal's executive structure following the appointment of Andrea Berta. As a result, Arsenal are expected to be very decisive in this transfer window, and I'd expect them to get their business done efficiently. What do you lot make of that statement? Let me know. Romano has spoken on Benjamin Sesko and said what we've heard for a while now, in that we're advancing in talks to sign him, but there's still a long way to go. It's actually his 22nd birthday as well. Allegedly, we've made the signing of a top-class striker our #1 priority for the summer transfer window, and have been linked with other big names such as Viktor Gyökeres, Victor Osimhen, and Chelsea-bound Liam Delap. But things are now heating up with regards to Sesko, who was a target for Arsenal a year ago before he signed a new contract at Leipzig. Romano has said, I can confirm that last week Arsenal had the first concrete, real official talks with Red Bull for Benjamin Sesko. Arsenal spoke to Leipzig. They had talks with the agent of the player, and Arsenal have started to understand the situation around Sesko. Contract terms, the value of the player, which will be less than his 100 million clause. There's still nothing is agreed as of today, but what we can say is that there's contact ongoing with Arsenal and is a strong candidate for Arsenal. Arsenal are really keen on Sesko. They wanted a year ago, and they tried to sign in January. Sesko will leave Leipzig this summer. This is the clear plan for the player and the club. And he's not just been linked with Arsenal. He's been linked with Chelsea and Manchester United, as you know. Apparently, we've been negotiating for several weeks with Leipzig and Sesko, and believe that a deal was all but done, with only formalities to complete before the striker would agree on personal terms. As long as we get the signings in by the end of the window, ideally as soon as pre-season is going to start, if not before, then I am kind of cool, people. Whether that is Gyökeres, Sesko, Nico Williams, Gittins, João Pedro, Rodrygo, Leroy Sané, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Rafa Leao, and there's probably a bunch of names I've missed out. Zubimendi, and no doubt will be linked with us, people. Sesko had been clear in negotiations that he wanted to join Arsenal over interested clubs such as AC Milan. Meetings with Sesko's entourage had all pointed to the striker joining Arsenal. It came as a huge shock when it was revealed at the start of June 2024 that Sesko would be staying at Leipzig, and he subsequently signed a new contract with the club. He will now leave a year later, with Arsenal the favourites to sign him. He scored an impressive 21 goals in 45 games in all comps this past season. He's got 18 goals in 42 games for his club in the 2024-25 season, and did attend the Euro 2024 competition with his country, Sevilla. And speaking of his country, he's got 16 goals in 41, as it says there, people. Again, apparently Chelsea have reportedly indicated their desire to trigger the 58 million release clause in Nico Williams' Athletic Club contract following talks with his agent. He's been linked with Chelsea a bunch of times, as has Arsenal. And to be fair with you, I'm sure if we went on Google and you remove the club Chelsea or the word Chelsea and put Arsenal, this has been said. With Nico Williams, it seems like all options are on the table. You would have seen Lamine Yamal speak about how he wants to play at club level. We hear a lot of rumors. He wants to stay and play in the Champions League with Bilbao. Last year it was he wanted to participate in Europe. Who knows what's going on with this guy? What I would say is talented player. No decision is a decision. Now, the club clearly know whether we sign someone better or sign the left wing up, full stop. We've got to be able to pivot, if I'm honest with you. And just generally, I'm not against Nico Williams. I'm not against Sesko. But if you look at them two, as much as it's about future proofing and their potential and all of that, where I think, and again, the club outside noise is outside noise, but I think on us fans on the ground, or us fans people, I think our frustration would come from in that many people could understand, you know what, Sesko, it's more of a long-term signing. In the short and the medium term, what can you give us? Maybe someone like Nico Williams. But that being said, we need to win now. Like, we understand that, but we need to win now. With that being said, you do need someone who is going to get double figures on the left-hand side. You do need a striker who is going to I would say 20 league goals. Conservative could say 15. And obviously, Saka keeps doing what he's doing. And the Marinos, the Kai Havertzes, the Trossards, the Martinellis, chipping where they can. Obviously, Declan Rice is now bringing goals to to the table. And again, well, to be fair, Gabriel Magalhaes set pieces is cash money. But you get the point. We need to score more goals. There's so many gears to go up. Mikel Arteta, for me, needs to evolve us in the final third because it can be a bit predictable. We do need that element of we've done it, but on a more consistent basis. Simply put, being able to win when everything's gone down the toilet in the game. And what I mean by that is, let's just say Arteta's tactics are going wrong. The other team are overrunning us. Saka's not having a good day. Players are not having a good day. We just need a couple players with a bit more individual brilliance in that. We can be angry about this hypothetical 90-minute performance, but we go and get the win. There's many different reasons as to, 14 draws isn't just because of referees, isn't just because of injuries, isn't just down to game management, isn't just down to how good we were or going to sleep. It's a bunch of things, really. So we do need that. We need to turn those 14 defeats, it feels like defeats, but 14 draws into at least half. 4 draws, again, over a 38-game period. You lost 4 games. A lot of those came when we was out of steam. And we did shoot ourselves in the foot. Naturally, you have to look at your defeats. In an ideal world, you don't want to lose, but nobody, everybody has to lose across the season. Nobody's invincible in the Premier League unless our team is yours gold in that. But yeah, man, at this point, Nico Williams has got 11 goals and 7 assists in 45 appearances last season. Apparently, we're the current front runners for his signature and have been heavily chasing him. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester United and Real Madrid have all been linked. Even Lamine Yamal, like if you go and just type his name in, he was speaking about how Williams' idol is Ronaldo. I think Saka says the same, so you can't take too much stock in that. But I know Cristiano Ronaldo made his name at Man United, but where did he make his name? If not Man United, it'd be a certain club in Spain, innit? So we'll have to see. We do hear about his wages, people. He's reportedly demanding 400k a week, people, which would make him Chelsea's highest earner. What that would do, what the knock-on and ripple effect would be for Arsenal, Bob is your uncle. Who knows what's going on there, people? I mean, we're linked with the same names again and again and again. The Athletic have said we've qualified for the Champions League. They're talking about our transfers, people. Who will make the key decisions? I'll skip through that. We obviously know it's Berta, it's Mikel Arteta. At this moment in time, Arsenal fans were well aware of kind of how our club kind of runs, so we can skip through that. We all know the positions we're said to be looking at, but it's no secret that Arsenal intend to add a new number 9. They considered signing one last summer and again in the winter transfer window, but ultimately chose to hold fire. Their intention is to address the issue this time. With Jorginho set to leave the club, they also have a vacancy in holding midfield. This will be addressed by the arrival of Martin Zubamendi from Real Sociedad. That move is effectively agreed, pending a medical, but Arsenal fans may have to wait for confirmation. The Spanish club have expressed a preference for the deal not to be ratified until July for accounting purposes. Now, that's cool. As long as it's done, that's cool. We heard that before. As long as it's signing, you're going to be in for pre-season. Arsenal are also interested in finding other ways to augment their attacking threat, perhaps through another wide player. While there has been a lot of speculation about the left flank, Arsenal may need a player who's an option on the right. I'm not being funny, yeah, but you look at Nico Williams. If we signed you, you could play on the left-hand side. You can play on the right. We've got players who can play on the right. Wanyeri can play on the right-hand side. Obviously, Saka could play there. Whether these are their best positions or not, Trossard, Martinelli can go over there. And there's, any winger we sign, they can. my preference is for them to be on the left-hand side, because I know there's a lot of talk about a striker. I'm doing it myself. I think we need that, but we need to get more out of that left-hand side. Imagine Declan Rice in that 8, Lewis Skelly or whoever at left back doing their thing, Martinelli and Trossard chipping in when the time's right, and a game changer on that side. There's things we could do. For me, obviously, Nwaneri's, in my opinion, I know the gaffer said he could be a striker and you can't rule that out. That man, with time, could play in Odegaard's role, and he needs to use this preseason to get up to speed with what Mikel Arteta wants off the ball in that role, because I think that's the only thing you're missing away from the obvious with his age. But yeah, earmarks for playing up front, can play in the 10, long term can also play in the 8. The right-hand side is probably in the short term where Nwaneri is probably seen in terms of the squad depth, people. So it's true. Raheem Sterling has not been officially notified that his time at Arsenal will not be extended. You never know. Stranger things have happened, and his son has signed for Arsenal. But the expectation is that he will leave when his contract, or better yet, his loan from Chelsea expires at the end of June. Nwaneri can play that position, but in the long term has been earmarked for a central role. That leaves Arsenal without an obvious alternative to Bukayo Saka. If they do go for a wide player, the ability to play on either flank would be advantageous. The club are in the market for a new goalkeeper to understudy David Raya. There's long-standing interest in Juan Garcia of Espanyol. It's well documented, but he appears to be headed elsewhere. Arsenal already working on alternatives. We have seen reports come out that we don't think it's financially prudent to commit 25 million euros to someone that probably at this moment in time in Arsenal's thinking isn't going to disrupt David Raya's spot. Arsenal have explored the signing of a young centre-back to complement William Saliba and Gabriel. They had considerable interest in Viktor Gyökeres prior to the teenager landing at Manchester City in January, and also hoped to sign Howson from Bournemouth before his recent move to Real Madrid. If Arsenal can identify a central midfielder of similar promise, they may pounce. I know that this is more, them two names are more right-sided centre-backs, and you have got Kivi. You'll be interested to see what happens with him. Smash the like button and let me know. Joel Hatto, anyone? I'm not giving up on that. The club have also allocated funds to Per Mertesacker to enable him to strengthen the academy. That's expected. We should be doing that. Arteta has spoken on his desire to increase the size of the squad, people, and he's described us as being super short in terms of the numbers. 3 years off the back of last year, fighting at this level and whatnot, people, where we've seen where one injury like Saliba could disrupt us and many others. And there's been, everyone's been injured this season, essentially. Last year, it was relatively injury-free. We still miss Tomiyasu Timber and Thomas Partey for large parts. We've seen what injuries have done. I've seen United, Chelsea, actually Liverpool be derailed by massive injuries. We've had it as well. Obviously, Rodri with City. So we've got enough self-experience and learned experience from others to know how important depth is. And I must admit, obviously, I think this squad has been together for a while. I still think we would have had a summer of big decisions, but you could also argue and caveat that with, in my opinion, I should be looking at this summer, yeah. And it goes back to last summer in January. In my opinion, we should only really be talking about 2-3 signings, if I'm honest with you. Maybe one centre mid, maybe a striker or a left winger, maybe sorting out the goalies. It feels like, I want to pick my words wisely, but a bit more wholesale changey things are kind of needed, people. As stated above, in terms of positional needs, centre forward is likely to figure prominently into this thinking. Arteta has pushed for the signing of England striker Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa in January, but the club ultimately had concerns over the price tag. Arteta will be determined to remedy the situation this summer. Having accepted that Alexander Isak appears beyond reach, Arsenal have explored the parameters of a deal for centre forwards Viktor Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko. Arsenal's leadership group have debated the merits of both players. If they have made a clear decision on their preference, they're keeping it close to their chest, which is true. If it is to be Sesko, Leipzig would prefer an early sale, which makes sense. Get him out the door, get the money in, rebuild and do what you need to do. That would grant them clarity and time to rebuild this summer, having missed out on Champions League qualification. There's also a financial shortfall for the German side to meet, which obviously adds fuel to the fire of even someone like Xavi Simons. Sporting's Gyökeres, however, may be cheaper overall package. Arsenal may weigh the price alongside a number of other criteria before making a final decision. I think people need to understand everything's a risk. We've seen not signing anyone presents a risk. We've seen that. We've seen the risk that come with signing a young upcoming striker. And as good as I think Gyökeres is, committing all of that money to someone that's 27, that we hope it works. But if it doesn't, it is what it is. Now, but you could argue, Sesko, I want Gyökeres because, again, I think it goes against the grain of the planning for tomorrow kind of things. I think it's a bit of a statement to the fans that we're kind of ready right now. I know people look at 27 like 37, but you've got at least a good 5 years. And in that time, there is going to be a new Gyökeres, a new Sesko, a new is like a new striker on the block for Arsenal to go on source. And we do a lot about future proofing. Clearly, we just saw it with the attempt to sign 2 upcoming centre backs that we just went over. So the club have the ability to do that. If my man is ready right now, Gyökeres is ready right now, and he's cheaper, then surely you can play around elsewhere. Because as much as Sesko has age working for him and whatnot, we have seen young strikers flop, and also he's going to cost more money, which indirectly, depending on the parameters of the deal and dotting I's and crossing T's and how we structure payments, cripples what we need to kind of do now. So there is a lot of pros and cons to both, man. I do want Gyökeres, but you lot see my videos. I'm a big fan of Sesko. I think people are acting like, fair enough, Gyökeres' numbers are out of this world, and I would like him, but people are moving like Gyökeres is whatever, and we're signing some pub player in Sesko. Sesko's a baller, and the club have done their due diligence. Obviously, if it don't work out, it don't work out. The club are gonna have to hold that, and that goes for both names. Although Gyökeres and Sesko appear foremost in the club's thoughts, there are also other names under discussion. January target Watkins has not been discounted entirely, although Arsenal would have the same reservations on the price. In wide areas, Arsenal have explored a number of options. Senior figures at the club have held talks with 29-year-old Leroy Sané, who is out of contract with Bayern Munich this summer. Sané also has interest from Saudi Arabia and elsewhere in England. He's been linked with Man United, Arsenal, actually a return to City on the less credible journalists, Spurs, and many others people. His family apparently are happy in Munich, would renew with Bayern, but Arsenal an alternative if the German international decides to move on. Embuemo of Brentford caught Arsenal's eye. We hear our recruitment staff for a number of years have been big fans of his. He's decided to join Man United. Our interest in Nico Williams is described as long-standing, while coaching staff are also keen admirers of Rodrygo. The numbers associated with a hypothetical deal for the Brazilian international, however, would be challenging, like all good players, really. Anthony Gordon is another who Arsenal like, and he's been linked with Liverpool, but again would command a high fee. Now, where you look at salespeople, we know Zinchenko could potentially leave. We know we've taken out the option to extend Lokonga's contract, which should enable us to sell him. Sevilla, we all knew it was an option to buy. They were going to try and bargain that down, or they weren't good. They were going to move in other ways. Can we give, they've got, is it a Gourmet? I've done a video on him when he was in France, and Arsenal apparently have an interest in him and earmarked him as a long-term Partey replacement. If Sevilla like Lokonga and Lokonga likes the City, is it worth a swap deal with some cash? I don't know, people. Reece Nelson, who love the guy, but we forget he's at the club a lot, man. Reece Nelson, who's been with Fulham, is another who could be on the move permanently if he can prove his fitness. As you know, Nelson underwent surgery on a hamstring injury. Fabio Vieira spent the season back at Porto, but his future is uncertain. Where our goalkeeper Karl Hein is concerned, he did spend a year in Spain with Valladolid. The next step is yet to be decided. The 23-year-old is keen to continue playing football. We know Kieran Tierney and Jorginho will be departing and joining Celtic and Flamengo respectively. We all know how Arsenal want to operate. We know we're in a strong financial place. We know how we operate in terms of how we like to spend. We know we are compliant with PSR, etc., etc. And we know what we did last summer as well. But the latter are actually more challenging to meet, limiting club spending on wages, transfers, and agent fees to 70% of revenue. However, Arsenal should be in a position of some flexibility, having offset last summer's purchases by selling the likes of Eddie Nketiah, Aaron Ramsdale, and Emil Smith-Rowe. 2 of those 3 names mentioned, I swear they go down as 100% profit because they came through our academy. But it also says Arsenal intend to be and plan in order to be fully compliant with both the Premier League's financial rules and those in UEFA. I mean, you can't expect the club to do anything else. Why would you want them to do that? Now, Napan, who seemed to be going Aston Villa, reports out of Norway are saying Aston Villa's signing of him chances have decreased and other clubs are actively pursuing it. Arsenal and Manchester City, as it says there in brackets, through sister club Girona, are 2 Premier League clubs looking at him. Market opportunity, someone that could progress to our first team and be part of the team in some capacity. But if you get him for hypothetically pennies in this day and age, and he develops and becomes part of the first team in the same way you got Odegaard for 30 million, Martinelli for about 60, what was it, about 30 for Saliba, and he's worth quadruple that. And there's probably some other examples. Great. If he develops and he's good, but not quite good enough, not quite the same, but a Smith Rowe, a Balogun, those kind of things, and you make a profit. That's the name of the game in business, really and truly. So yeah, we've gone over several of these people, but yeah, again, talk is going to be dominated around Sesko and Gyökeres. And Sammy Motbell of the BBC has said we've actually, trying to confirm the frameworks over deals for both. I see that as we've done our due diligence, we've weighed the pros and cons, everyone's had their thoughts, but we're getting vague deals agreed with both players, and obviously seeing the conditions with Sporting in Leipzig, and we're ready to move in both directions. And I think the only thing that would see us, you know, change is if, you know, Gyökeres says no or Sesko says no. So it'd be interesting, man. But what do you lot make of the Ollie Watkins stuff? Would you lot go for Anthony Gordon? Do you lot feel we're underrating the need as well for a left winger that's going to get numbers as much as all the talk is around the striker? I don't know, but let me know your thoughts, man.
You always just go when